It's Tuesday, June 10th, 2025, and welcome to the second episode of the Daily Blueprint. I'm Hannah Moldavan, Deputy Communications Director for the Democrats, and your host today. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, you didn't catch us yesterday, you might be asking, what is the blueprint? Donald Trump is counting on us to get distracted, but we're not falling for it. So every morning we'll cut through the noise and we'll give you the real story. What's happening today that actually matters, why it's a big deal, and how you can fight back and help Democrats win. So whether you're in the trenches of Democratic politics or just want the truth, this is your go-to spot. So let's get to work. First, if there's one thing you're paying attention to today, it's this. Trump's billionaire first bill, making its way through the Senate right now, will not only rip away essential programs like affordable health care and food assistance for millions of Americans, it'll raise your costs too. Trump and Republicans don't care about your medical bills, your grocery receipts, or your wallet. So here are some of the numbers you should keep in mind about this bill. 1, the average family could see a $320 increase in gas costs per year. 2, families and businesses could see a 10% spike in their energy utility bills. And 3, home mortgages could spike by $600 to $1,240 per year. So as you're talking to your friends and family about this bill, remind them that this budget won't just make their lives more expensive by ripping away programs. It'll skyrocket everyday costs too. If your state has a Republican senator, give them a call and ask them to vote no on this bill. Text call to 43367 to get their phone number and a script. Now, turning to the news today, Trump continues to abuse his powers to fulfill his campaign of revenge and retribution. And now he's calling for Governor Newsom to be arrested, despite the fact that Trump ordered troops into California against the governor's will. Let's be very clear about what's happening here. Trump is desperately trying to distract from the chaos surrounding his own administration, from the very messy breakup with Elon Musk to rising prices for consumers and dire economic indicators that show we're careening toward a recession. And we'll see him continue to fan the flames wherever and whenever he feels like it will counteract bad headlines. But Governor Newsom has continued to push back against Trump and is now suing the Trump administration for escalating the situation in LA after his illegal takeover of California's National Guard troops. But Trump continues to escalate tensions, mobilizing U.S. Marines to California yesterday in what LA Police Chief Jim McDonnell called a significant logistical and operational challenge. These troops were forced to sleep on the floors of what appear to be loading docks and arrived without funding for food, water, fuel, equipment, or lodging. But despite these lack of resources, Trump deployed an additional 2,000 National Guard troops to LA last night. And yesterday on Capitol Hill, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries held a press conference to underscore the constitutional right Americans have to peacefully assemble in light of events in LA. Democrats remain committed to supporting this fundamental right. Let's take a listen to Leader Jeffries.
We will not be lectured by Donald Trump and anyone in the Republican Party about issues of law and order. Not a single one of them. Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Costs haven't gone down, they're going up. Inflation is going up. Donald Trump lied to the American people. You know what he did do on day one? He pardoned hundreds of violent felons, criminals, who brutally assaulted police officers and attacked the Capitol on January 6th. That's what Donald Trump did on day one.
Meanwhile, Trump and Republican leaders are escalating tensions. Yesterday, Senate offices were instructed to shift focus onto Gavin Newsom when discussing LA and to promote and praise the Republican budget bill. Here's a free idea for Republicans. Maybe instead, like they promised on the campaign trail, they should be focusing on creating a budget that serves all Americans and not just Trump's billionaire backers. And yesterday, Trump's discriminatory un-American travel ban went into effect, blocking a Burmese American woman's brother from finally escaping war-torn Myanmar. Trump is literally so desperate to distract us from his dangerous economic agenda that he's putting lives at risk, all for a policy that does nothing to make Americans safer or improve our immigration system. So while Trump continues to sow chaos instead of finding solutions, Democrats continue to hit the airwaves, reminding us that this is all a distraction from the outrage of Trump's billionaire first agenda. Let's listen to Senator Chris Murphy discuss this.
Talk about this because this is the whole game is that the actual agenda here is to steal from us. The actual agenda is to steal from regular Americans in order to pad the pockets of the rich. So what does this bill do? It actually costs money for 40% of the American public. You get poorer if you are in the bottom 40%, and the richest families get a tax cut of $270,000. Okay, nobody wants that. That's super unpopular. So how do you get that done? You distract people by making them think that they're at war with other Americans, making them.
So at this point, you've probably heard or seen the coverage and outrage that Trump's billionaire first reconciliation bill, that's the one going through the Senate right now, would rip away healthcare from 16 million people, and how much Democrats very much oppose this. But did you know it could also make it harder for you to find a doctor? The reconciliation bill proposes deep cuts to government health plans and medical research, which could create a doctor shortage. So working families could be paying exorbitant out-of-pocket premiums and still have trouble getting care. Moving to today in the economy, economists on both sides of the aisle are warning that Trump and Republicans' budget bill will stoke inflation and could cause a financial crisis. Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers expressed concern that Republicans' bill, combined with Trump's trade policies, will put the U.S. at, quote, the foothills of stagflation and possible financial crisis. And even former George H.W. Bush economic advisor Douglas Holtz-Eakin said Republicans' bill would make America's fiscal outlook worse. And an array of analyses, including from Trump's own Department of Energy, project that Americans will face higher electricity costs this summer, making this another broken promise from Trump that he made on the campaign trail. Don't take it from me. Let's hear it from Trump himself. Play the clip.
Everything is so much higher than it ever was, and we're going to bring that down, and we're going to do it very simply.
And experts say expected price hikes will be made significantly worse by Trump and the GOP's reconciliation bill, again, the one going through the Senate right now, which could increase the typical family's annual spending on electricity by $400 in the coming years. These warnings come as residents of Michigan and Pennsylvania are expected to shoulder tens of millions in higher utility bills because Trump ordered 2 aging power plants to remain open, despite the added cost of operation and their operators making no request to keep them active. And in a new survey, 61% of Americans say they were feeling stressed about grocery prices. More than 8 in 10 shoppers expressed concern that Trump tariffs would raise their grocery costs. And as Trump administration is taking actions to raise prices and stoking economic chaos, we expect Senate Democrats this week to hammer home the facts that Trump's budget bill will only continue to raise costs. So follow along this week as Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats call out Republicans for pushing a bill that will raise everyday costs for working families. Now, today in our segment called the MAGA Breakdown, it's another busy day on the Hill as Democrats plan to grill Trump cabinet secretaries on their proposed cuts to crucial programs and mismanagement of federal agencies. Follow along with Fact Post online, where we'll continue to call out administration officials who attempt to lie and obfuscate while Democrats hold them accountable. And among the Trump administration officials we'll see testify today is NIH Director Jay Bhattacharya, who yesterday received a letter from more than 90 scientists at his agency criticizing the proposed cuts to scientific research and clinical trials. The letter specifically called out Bhattacharya's promise during his confirmation hearings to embrace dissent. You can expect to hear Democrats press him on this today. And in an unprecedented but not at all shocking move, HHS Secretary RFK Jr. is getting rid of all 17 members of a crucial government panel of vaccine advisors, only the latest in his anti-vaccine crusade. In an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal, RFK Jr. claims he just wants a clean sweep to restore public trust in vaccines. But this comes only a few months after a top vaccine official at the FDA resigned over RFK Jr.'s misinformation and lies. RFK Jr. once even characterized the 17-person panel as a rubber stamp for vaccines. But don't take my word for it. Even Republican Senator Bill Cassidy asked RFK Jr. to keep this panel intact as a condition for his confirmation vote in the Senate. Here's a senator speaking on the floor about his support for RFK Jr. because of this. Let's listen to Senator Cassidy.
It confirmed he will maintain the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices recommendations without changes. CDC will not remove statements on their website pointing out that vaccines do not cause autism.
Of course, like most in his party, Senator Cassidy is literally running away from holding this administration accountable for its lies and dangerous policy moves. Let's take a look.
It is a good bill. It is waste, fraud, and abuse, the personification of. So I'm hoping.
Do you regret your vote on RFK Jr.?
You know,
You can refer to our tweet on that.
And,
question.
And I know you have some different questions, but you're trying to get us something similar. And this is not going to come in that.
Thank you, guys. About whether you still stand by that vote?
This action by RFK Jr. is coming from the same guy who continues to peddle debunked conspiracy theory that vaccine causes autism. Do we really trust him with a clean sweep of highly trusted vaccine experts? Democrats certainly don't, and that's why Senator Angela Alsobrooks from Maryland is already calling on RFK Jr. to resign or be fired for endangering the health of so many Americans. And though Musk may be out of the picture, his Doge work continues to impact Americans, as we hear people like Trump's head of the Social Security Administration call himself fundamentally a Doge person. As it turns out, Doge's waste, fraud, and abuse adventures are estimated to have cost the American taxpayer $135 billion this fiscal year. And even though White House security staff warned that installing Elon Musk's Starlink software could pose a huge security risk, Doge staff went ahead and did it anyway, subjecting sensitive information to possible security breaches. And Elon could pocket off the sale. So as House Republicans push to codify Doge cuts and the Trump administration works to embed Musk's lackeys throughout the government, Democrats are fighting back, including an effort by Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is urging the Department of Education's Office of Inspector General to investigate Doge access to student loan data. And House Republicans are using Trump's billionaire-first budget to sneak in a dangerous provision that could further rip away reproductive health care access across the country. This last-minute addition will threaten at least 13 states' health care funding for standing up to Trump's dangerous abortion bans, threatening to cut off critical federal health care funding for millions if they don't bend the knee. But many Democratic attorneys general in these states are ready to defend their constituents' rights if House Republicans get their way. And finally, today, we'll end our MAGA breakdown segment with a rare admission of truth from J.D. Vance, who said on a recently released podcast that the reconciliation package was not a perfect bill. Let's hear it in his own words.
But I understand, like, it's a good bill. It's not a perfect bill. Like, the process in D.C., if you're a business leader, you probably get frustrated with that process because it's more, bureaucratic. It's more slow moving.
Yeah.
So I think there's just some frustrations there.
And today, for Democrats on offense, in response to the Republicans' aim to take away reproductive health care in their budget bill, among other critical programs like Medicaid and SNAP that disproportionately affect and serve women, Democrats on the Hill are mobilizing. On Wednesday, Senator Amy Klobuchar and House Minority Whip Katherine Clark will host a forum to call attention to all of the ways in which Trump's disastrous budget will hurt women, from ripping away reproductive health care access to gutting access to food assistance that helps mothers feed their children. And yesterday, the Democratic Governors Association announced its initial investment of $5 million to support Abigail Spanberger's campaign for Virginia governor. Spanberger is running on a plan to lower Virginians' healthcare and housing costs, while Republicans continue to create economic uncertainty and dismantle critical programs that affect Virginians. And House Democrats officially launched a Democratic Veterans Caucus, a group of 18 Democratic veterans co-chaired by Representatives Ted Lieu, Pat Ryan, and Chris Deluzio. The new caucus comes as Trump attempts to politicize the military, especially as his drastic cuts have taken a toll on veterans' healthcare and services. Democrats are banding together to stand with veterans and their families. And in exciting news today, DNC Chair Ken Martin kicked off the first steps to find a host city for the 2028 Democratic National Convention. The chair is sending a letter to mayors representing cities capturing the demographic and geographic diversity that lies at the heart of the Democratic Party to gauge interest. The letter extends an early opportunity for city representatives to voice their interest and learn more about the specific requirements and expectations of a convention host city. We will keep you posted as the search for a host city begins. And finally, in what you can do today, now that Trump's billionaire-first budget has passed the House, Senate Republicans continue discussions this week to lay the groundwork for devastating cuts to healthcare and food assistance. Republicans have made it clear they don't care if their own constituents live or die as long as the richest get richer. So if your state has a Republican senator, give them a call and ask them to vote no. Text call to 43367 to get their phone number and a script. And Trump and Elon Musk are desperate to dominate the headlines with petty feuds and clickbait chaos, but don't let them distract you from what really matters. Instead of engaging with that noise, post about issues that will actually affect people's lives. Text POST to 43367 to get content you can share to help break through the noise and hold Republicans accountable. And today is also Election Day in New Jersey's primary election. If you or someone you know is a New Jersey voter, head to iwillvote.com to make your voting plan. Polls will be open from 6 a.m., so right now to 8 p.m. And thank you for joining us in our second episode of the Daily Blueprint. We'll be right here with you every day during the week at 10 a.m. Eastern on the DNC's YouTube page. Until tomorrow.